So I'm still thinking more about this haggle that has been going on my last couple of videos about whether or not we can reductively suggest that all reality is, I guess, comprised of the three-dimensional world. So there is a material world that the real world, the material world, so say the scientific materialists again, that everything in some way is comprised of four dimensions. So, I think some people were accusing me of not sufficiently reckoning with the time dimension. And I was disagreeing. I was suggesting, again, that relations are as real as things. That's part of the problem. But let's just go to some mathematical questions. I'm going to try to keep this video very short. I would like to get a response to people. Okay, so if we take, just for argument's sake, algebra, geometry, and then we'll say calculus. Okay, we'll skip trig. But if we say algebra, geometry, and calculus, now don't those have different dimensionalities for the objects that they deal with, and aren't the kinds of processes, the kind of calculations, that is what you can do with the objects that they deal with, doesn't it depend upon the sense of dimensionality that they have? And aren't there qualitatively different dimensionalities there? So for example, 2 plus 2 equals 4. Now how many dimensions does that have? Does it have any dimensions? Let's just say it only has one. Okay, it has this dimensionality of along a number line, there's this movement of 2 plus 2 equaling 4. And I guess it is in a kind of non-space. It doesn't have a third dimension. Um, Arguably, it doesn't have a second dimension. I mean, 2 plus 2 equals 4 is a very odd kind of statement. Now, when we move to, now let's go back here for a second. Now, if some person is going to try to haggle this out and say, no, actually, it's all neurophysiology in the brain, well, the brain state, those neurophysiology states and the neurochemistry that's going on, those may have three-dimensionality, but that doesn't mean that the numbers do. The numbers as we experience them seem not to. Let's move to geometry. Now if I take a geometric figure, I take a triangle or a circle, now someone might try to argue that it's always in 3D space. They're going to say, well, when you draw it in the sand, there your finger has to make the indent in the sand. Or they're going to say, when you use the crayon on the paper, the little crayon trail is on top of the paper and it has a three dimension. Well, okay, that's sort of a fair enough point. But now with computer representation, I'm not sure that the line is on top of the surface. That is, the surface and the figure may in fact be one at this point of digital representation. Now, clearly it's two-dimensional. I mean, we might argue that what you're watching right now is two-dimensional, while your eye perceives it as three-dimensional. But a surfaced, very clear example of a triangle, a circle. Now, it's in two dimensions. Now, the neurochemistry that represents it will be in three dimensions, but that doesn't mean that the operations that I use and I perform in mathematics aren't, again, proper for a two-dimensional world, and they are. Now, where is that two-dimensional world? Does that two-dimensional world exist? Is it not real? Is someone going to say that the world of algebra and geometry are not real? It isn't really till we get to calculus. I mean, is that the deal? I'm very interested in, I guess, different classes of life, and to what extent is there a kind of dimensionality to human experience where we open to things that are not in the world of three dimensions. That is, our conscious experience can be of that. I mean, not only can we have imagined circles and imagined triangles, which it's very hard to say the surface of your imagination is in how many dimensions. And so this is very odd. At any rate, I would love to see some people respond to this question about is the reality of algebra and geometry somehow less real than calculus? Now, calculus is much more useful in the world. I'm going to grant it that right now. It's much more powerful in its applications. But I wonder about the sense in which the two-dimensional world that we can experience, that can't be anywhere found in the neurophysiology or in, quotes, the real world. Where is that? Okay, thank you.